Hello, good day. I hope you are fine. The most important question about dividend policy is, does dividend payout policy have a significant effect on the value of a firm and share price? A number of theoretical and empirical answers to this question have been proposed, but as yet, there is no widely accepted rule to help a firm find its optimal payout policy. Today, we shall start by learning one of the important dividend theories by Modigliani and Miller, the Nobel Prize winners. They conclude that dividend is irrelevant. Why is that so? Well, we are going to find out. In addition, we are going to learn the concept of homemade dividend too. At the end of this learning session, it is hoped that students will develop an understanding of the arguments put forward by the dividend irrelevance school and be able to explain the Modigliani and Miller theory on why dividends are irrelevant. Stay tuned and let's learn together. The question of the effect of dividends on share prices has been a controversial one for many years. The dividend irrelevance theory was first originated with a paper by Professor Franco Modigliani and Merton Miller in 1961. The theory states that dividend policy has no effect on either the price of a firm's stock or its cost of capital. The firm's value is determined solely by the earning power and risk of its assets or investments. The manner in which the firm splits its earnings stream between dividends and internally retained funds does not affect this value. Miller and Modigliani conclude that share valuation is independent of the level of dividend paid by a company. Modigliani and Miller developed their theory under a stringent set of assumptions for a perfect capital market. This slide lists the key assumptions for the dividend irrelevance theory. The key point of dividend irrelevance theory is dividend policy does not matter. Miller and Modigliani's works proves that investors are indifferent to dividend policy. We are going to find out further. Let's look into an example. This example on Bristol Corporation is adapted from your prescribed textbook by David Hillier. You are strongly encouraged to read the textbook. The background of the firm is summarized in this slide. Here, we are going to analyze a simplified case in which the firm would only exist for 1 year. The firm will receive a cash flow of £10,000 immediately and another £10,000 next year. The required rate of return is 10% and the number of shares outstanding is 1,000 shares. First, we are going to evaluate the firm and answer two basic questions. Question 1. What is the value of firm? Question 2. What is the value of each share? As the cash flow at time 0 and time 1 is £10,000, we can discount the cash flows at 10% required rate of return. You can use the present value formula to do so. The value of firm is 19090.9 pound, and the value of each share is found by the value of firm divided by the number of shares outstanding. The share price is 19.09 pound. Management can vary dividend policy. Management can choose to pay more or pay less today or in the future. At point A, the firm pays dividend of £10 at date 0 and date 1. The firm could achieve point B by issuing equity to pay extra dividends. At point B, more dividend is paid today, leaving less dividend to be paid in the future. The firm could achieve point C by buying back old equity with some of its cash, reinvest unpaid dividend at date 0, and yielding incremental return at date 1. At point C, less dividend is paid today, leaving more dividend to be paid in the future. The question is, how would this affect the firm value and share price? We are going to explore further. We assume two scenarios. Scenario 1, the firm pays higher dividend of 11,000 at time 0 and lower dividend of 8,900 at time 1. The extra dividend paid at time 0 is financed with securities or bond, and interest of 10% is paid on the funding. As a result, there are less cash flow available to investors at time 1. Scenario 2, the firm pays lower dividend of 9,000 at time 0, reinvest the cash flow at 10%, and pay higher dividend of 11,100 at time 1. If we perform a discounting method to calculate the value of firm and value of each share, you will realize that both values are the same. The different dividend payout structures do not affect the share price. Investors are able to transform the corporation's dividend policy into a different policy by buying or selling on their own. Corporate dividend policy is being undone by a potentially dissatisfied shareholder by either reinvesting dividends or selling off equity. This means investors are able to create a homemade dividend policy. Dividend policy is irrelevant as dissatisfied stockholders can alter the firm's dividend policy to suit themselves. There is no particular advantage to any one dividend policy the firm might choose. Next, we are going to use the same example on Bistro Corporation to explore how investors can create homemade dividend. At point A, the dividends at time 0 and time 1 are £10 respectively. Suppose that firm pays dividend as displayed by point B, that is, higher dividend of £11 at time 0 and lower dividend of £8.9 at time 1. Investor can move from point B to point A by reinvesting the extra £1 dividend at 10% at time 0. At time 1, the investor will receive the dividend paid by firm of £8.9 plus the reinvestment cash flow of £1.1, totaling £10. If we discount the cash flow to find the present value, the value of each share is £19.09. Suppose that firm pays dividend as displayed by point C, that is, lower dividend of £9 at time 0 and higher dividend of £11.1 at time 1. Investor can move from point C to point A by selling one share. At time 1, the investor who holds less shares will receive less dividends. If we discount the cash flow to find the present value, the value of each share remains unchanged at £19.09. To conclude, the change in dividend policy did not affect the value of a share of equity. Investors can go down the slope by reinvesting or going up the slope by selling shares. investors can create their own homemade dividend. This slide reiterates the homemade dividends that we have just discussed in the previous slide. Individuals or investors can undo the firm's dividend policy. The firm's policy can be at point A, B, or C. Individuals can choose to transform the corporation's dividend policy. For example, suppose the firm adopts the dividend policy represented by point B. An investor can reinvest £1 of the dividends at 10%, which will place her at point A. Suppose the firm adopts the dividend policy represented by point C. An investor can sell off £1 of equity at date zero, placing him at point A. What are the key lessons learned from the example? An increase in dividends at date zero can be accomplished only by a decrease in dividends at date 1. The present value of all dividends is not affected. Therefore, dividends policy is irrelevant. What are the implications of dividend irrelevance theory on a firm's investment policy? Well, firms should never give up a positive NPV project to increase a dividend or to pay a dividend for the first time. Investment policy is more important. The investment policy of the firm should be set ahead of time and is not altered by changes in dividend policy. Finally, we have come to the end of this video. I hope you have benefited from the presentation and content in this video. If you like this video, please click like, subscribe or share. Thank you, see you and goodbye.